friends! So we are going to be starting on our landscapes today. We're not making traditional landscapes. We're going to do landscapes that are imaginative, creative, and fun. We're going to be utilizing lines, shapes, colors, and patterns for this. We can use multiple different types of patterns and shapes, all that come from our imagination, or I have some examples as well that you can base your patterns on. But I would suggest just going out and seeing some patterns out in nature or looking in your closet at your different clothing. Sometimes you'll find different ideas and inspirations for patterns. But what I want to do is I'm going to show you guys some pictures of landscapes on a PowerPoint, and then we will get. So what is a landscape? Landscapes have a few different definitions because usually, and like I say, this is usually, there are many, many exceptions. A landscape is going to be showing some sort of environment or land with a horizon line. Okay, we're going to talk in a second what a horizon line is, and then it shows where the sky is. So a horizon line is where the sky ends and the land begins. So it's called a line, but it's not always a straightforward line. So you could see this landscape is a landscape, even though there's a lot of water here, because we do have a landmass. This right here is our horizon line, and it's rather straight, except for this hill, right? So that is our horizon line. It is where the land, or like what we can interact with, ends and the sky begins. Right here, the line is a little bit more iffy, right? It's a little bit like bumpy, but that's where the land ends and then the sky begins. So landscapes can be done in many different styles. So I wanted to show you guys a non-traditional landscape. So this is still a landscape. They're just using different materials. They're using things that look a little bit less realistic, right? This is more abstracted, but these are still landscapes. You could still see where the land ends and where the sky begins, and it's showing the land or the environment as the main subject of the art piece. And that is our landscapes. So let's go ahead and get started with ours. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So what you're gonna need is just a plain piece of computer paper, a pencil to start, and then you're either gonna need a black marker or a Sharpie. Doesn't matter, whichever you have at home works. You can also use a black crayon for this. You're just gonna want a black outline of your drawing. It's gonna help it really pop. So what we're going to do is we're going to be creating a abstracted landscape. So what that means is we're going to create a landscape, but we're going to make it look a little wonky, look like it's in a fun patterned world. So what we're going to do to start is we need to do our horizon line. Remember, our horizon line is where our sky ends and our land begins. So as you guys can see from the example, that isn't quite finished yet because I want to show you guys some other things. I made my horizon line not a straight line. I made it nice and wavy and hilly because remember, we're in a wonky, creative world, so your lines don't have to be very straight. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make a curvy line right in the middle of my paper. After that, I'm going to go ahead and mark out where I want my sun. Doesn't matter where you want to put it. Please take some creative freedom here. I'm going to be drawing my example, but you guys get to make it however you want to. So just because I put the sun in the middle does not mean that you need to put the sun in the middle. You guys are free to make this as different and creative as possible. Actually, that's what I want you to do. I don't want yours to look exactly like mine because then it's not really your art piece, right? We all make it our own. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put my sun in the middle since I have my sun to the side on my other example. And the way I do my sun is I draw a circle and then I make this kind of pointy, weird line that goes around it. There are plenty of different ways to do suns. You could do little streak marks. You can make patterns coming out of it like this. Maybe I'll add this too, just to make it look extra funky. Right, because remember we're using our different patterns and lines to make this fun, creative landscape. Okay, now that I have my sun and I have my horizon line, I'm gonna go ahead and break up my land into its rows, just like those farm rows. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a ruler. So with your ruler, again, you guys have creative freedom with how big you want your rows to be that you're gonna be putting your lines and your patterns and your shapes in. I made mine kind of big, so if you want yours to be smaller, go for it. I usually, when I start this off, start from all the way to the edge, and I'm going to pick a point to which all of my lines converge or dive into. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick my sun. Wherever your point is that you want all of your lines to converge to, you're just gonna put a little dot. Do you see how lightly I put that dot? Okay, that's where I want all of my lines to line up to. So I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna take my ruler, I'm gonna match it up to my dot right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a straight line down in my land. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead with my other line. Again, I'm matching it up to the dot, and I'm making a straight line in my land. Again, match it up to the dot, straight line, keep it matched up to the dot, straight line, dot, straight line, and last one, matched up to the dot and a straight line. So now all of my lines, if I were to do an invisible line, would all be coming out of this little dot right here. That's how I know that all of my lines right here are gonna look even, because they're all coming out of the same perspective point. So once I have my lines here, I'm gonna go ahead and make some trees. So I want you guys to get creative with your trees. I drew like different types of tree trunks and different types of tree tops, and I'm gonna put patterns inside of here as well. So feel free to get creative with how you want your trees to look. The most important part when drawing a tree trunk is just that the bottom of the tree trunk is gonna be wider and it's gonna get thinner as it comes up to the top. Can you guys see that? So it's wider down here and it gets a little thinner as it comes up to the top. Then most trees branch out, and then that's where you'll see those little tree branches that come out. And remember, this is a weird patterned world, so if it doesn't look perfect, that's totally fine. And then you can go ahead and make your leaves however you want them. So I'm just gonna put 2 weird trees. Okay. All right, so now I have my trees, I have my sun, I have my horizon line and my rows here. So now if you want to draw a little house, I'm going to show you guys how to do that, a little barn or something like that. I'll put a little barn right here in the middle. So I'll draw upside down so you guys can see it right side up. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to make 2 lines that go straight up. Then you're going to draw a straight line. Then we'll put a little triangle at the top. Make your opening. And then I drew my house just right now straight in the middle. If I were to draw one over here, I'll do 2 straight lines. I'll do a straight line across. I'll make a triangle for the top. I'm gonna make a little opening. Now, I have my perspective point right here. So do you guys see how the house looks a little bit 3D? This is how we do that. So I go to my perspective point, which is that little dot I made, and I'm gonna make a little straight line. I'm gonna go over here to this edge, make a little straight line, and go over here to this edge, matched up to the dot, make a little straight line, and then I'm gonna make, straight line up, and a straight line sideways. Okay, so now it looks like it's coming out to the side and looks 3D. Okay, if it's coming straight up and down, I'm not gonna have any perspective here because it's right in front of me, so I don't see the side of the building. All right, so you guys can add a little house if you would like to. And then at this point, what I would suggest doing is outlining before you start on your patterns. You will be outlining your patterns as well. You guys can see how I outlined mine with my black marker to make them really pop. But if you need some more time to think of different patterns and lines and stuff like that, you can start to outline now. When you guys are doing your patterns and lines, I want you guys to really be creative with how you fill the space. There are endless amounts of ways to come up with different lines, shapes, patterns, even just blocks of color to put in your land. Just get really creative with how you decide to do that. And if you want to just go straight in with your marker and not draw them with pencil first, you could totally do that, because you just go with the flow. Right? Sometimes things work a little better when you do them that way. So you're gonna go ahead and outline everything with your black marker. Okay, and then after you outline everything with your black marker, I would suggest using a ruler to go back over your straight lines. I've had a lot of practice making straight lines. Okay, once you've outlined everything, then you can start going in with your color. Okay, so when you add color, it is up to you on what you want to use. I used crayons for all of my color. Miss BB just really likes crayons. I like how bright they are. I like how hard you can color with them without them breaking, and just getting really vibrant colors. So that's why I like crayons. It's up to you. If you want fine detail, like really small patterns, you might want to use colored pencils. And you can even use markers for this. The only thing I would say to be wary of if you're using marker is everything is outlined in a black marker. That means if you go in with a yellow marker and you touch your black marker, you might mess up your yellow marker. So just be careful. If you are going to use markers to color in your landscapes, because you might mess with your beautiful outline that you've already created. All right, so these should be very nice and colorful. They should be full of patterns, lines, textures, and I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. So I'll show you guys a picture of my final art piece once I add some more patterns in here. As you can see, I still need to finish coloring. I don't want any white space left on my lovely art piece. So I'm gonna fill the rest of this in with colors, lines, patterns, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.